Hi, this is Sam here with the weekend edition of the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe. Starting off with the FTSE as usual, and here I suppose given the geopolitical aspects at the moment, not doing that badly really, could have been down rather more, but the old resistance 8800 and that we've already factored in as potential new support. We missed the March peak 8908 by a few points in terms of this week's peaks, but at least while we're above 8800 looking for this market to progress to the top of that rising trend channel from early last year up to 9020, perhaps by the end of next month. On the downside, worst case, hopefully no lower than the floor of the previous range, 8700. 50 and 200 day lines both rising, so that is a positive at the moment, rising in parallel, that is. Moving on to the DAX, and something weird look to this market, in the sense we had two gaps down, but Friday's session did manage to rescue itself and find support above the mid-May support zone there around 23,200, and really while we're above that, looking for this market to hit maybe back to the top of the range there around 24,300. Ultimately the top of the channel there, 24,700, is what we've been looking for, and obviously we've narrowly missed that area. Worst case on the downside would be that test of the 50-day moving average, 22,800, was required. Moving on to the Dow, and here the picture one of same rather irritating consolidation near the floor of that red rising trend channel there, so 42,000 basically the floor there. We didn't manage to sustain 42,800, which was the old March resistance, so that neckline resistance still in force. Above that, would be looking for 44,000 by the end of next month, but I suppose the way things are, can't rule out a test of the 50-day line there, 41,100. And to be honest, that probably looks like the most obvious testing zone and scenario that we have to go back down to the 50-day line, even if we can then recover after that. On to Bitcoin, where obviously all the Bitcoin treasury mob are buying Bitcoin quite hungrily at the moment. We've had two bounces off the rising 50-day line so far this month. Still not quite out of the woods yet in terms of finding support and staying above 100,000, but that is nominally the new support now if we break the 50-day line. On the upside, probably looking for proper end-of-day closes through 106, 107 now to give us the chance of retesting the best levels, 112, or getting up to 124,000 by the end of next month. Moving along to gold, which obviously in the current environment is on fire, but perhaps not quite as on fire as it could be. We still haven't broken 3,400 and finding resistance there again at the end of the week. End of day close above 3,400, we're looking for 3,800 by the end of next month, although what kind of conflict war situation would do that is probably something to speculate on. On the downside, not expecting anything lower now than the 50-day line, 32.79. Moving on to the stocks, and it is all about Bitcoin Treasury, especially with Coinsilium, that is. Here you can see that we are still very close to our previous best case scenario target at 12 pence. That was the old 2021 resistance. Above that, minor resistance at 20, but really the call here is at above 12. We're looking for up to 30 or more, in fact 30 or more. So let's see if Coinsilium can step up to the plate. Interestingly enough, we have the old resistance from last month at 10 pence as likely support, so above 10, looking for as much as 30 there. On to Directa Plus, which who I interviewed during the week, and it seems there's been a decent reaction to that. You can see that we've got we had a sideways shuffle above a rising 50-day line near the lows, one of the better signals that you can get, and certainly above the post-April resistance at 7.5 pence, looking for 12 pence by the end of next month, or even sooner, which would be quite a trend change and a turnaround. Onto a company which I had a presentation from during the week, which is GenIP, and here looks like that went well for all concerned. Here you can see that we're just approaching that line of resistance there from back in the December period, and above that at 32 pence, looking for 45 pence by the end of next month. So that looking quite good at the moment. The 50-day line's also already rising. Hopefully the 200-day line will catch up over the next few sessions. Moving along to a stock which is perhaps another new recovery situation here. We've got Genincode, which has had a consolidation above the 50-day line above it, which is also quite telling. We also filled that gap from April, around 2.4 pence. Looking for an end-of-day close above that to give us a move to the top of that falling trend channel as high as 6 pence. Maybe as soon as the end of next month. Perhaps we'll get the kind of spike we had back in January, sometime in June or July. Upside value while we're above that 50-day line at 1.99 pence. On to Helium Ventures, which doesn't do Helium Ventures anymore, apparently. Here you can see that the shares through the roof on Friday, finally, after a bit of jiggery-pokery. Basically a bear trap rebound from below 3.5 pence, which I did actually see on Friday as well before the shares went up, but they went up later in the session. Here, the current situation is that we're looking for progress within a broadening triangle, heading for 9 pence, hopefully over the next, 2 weeks, something like that. And that upside value while we hold above the old resistance there at 5 pence. So above 5, looking for 9 on Helium Ventures, just for a start, given the way things are going in its space. Haydale Graphene also going up. I suppose maybe there's a link between Haydale and Directa Plus, both graphene companies. Here we've blown the lights out on all the targets there. The last one there was 0.4 pence. And that would hopefully be the top of the range for a little while, or could be the top of the range for a little while. The main thing here now is to hold the 0.3 pence area and maybe retest that 0.45 peak one more time. Moving on to a stock which hardly gets any coverage anywhere, which is Kendrick. And here, first signs of a turnaround. We've got a rising 50-day line above the sideways shuffle above a rising 50-day line. So looking for the shares to get up to 0.47, the top of that falling trend channel, and looking for them to do that by the end of next month or even sooner. Ideally, they do that by the end of this month. Upside value while we hold above recent broken resistance around the 0.23 pence level. Moving on to stock, which is maybe a surprising inclusion today, which is strip tinning. And here you can see that the shares have actually gapped off the lows, which is a serious technical or charting signal. 50-day line also rising, so we're looking for at least 29 pence or 30 pence at the 200-day line. Best case by the end of next month will be up to 42 pence. Although I have to admit it's difficult to work out what might actually do that. Stock of the year by quite some margin at the moment is Smarter Web, and here from 15 pence or buying dips to 15 pence last month to all the targets we've had in between, I think 75 and a pound and £1.30, etc. And we're now up to a new higher ground, the top of the trend channel that we have, the black one there, around the 150 level. Above 150 we are still looking for £2.20. Obviously the company's raised some money after the close on Friday, and so there could be a little bit of a dip, but at least while we're above 155, ultimately looking for 220 on Smarter Web. A stock which has certainly been in recovery mode over the recent past has been UOG, and difference here between all this round and all the other ones is this one has had legs, unlike the ones say in October, November. So very strong price action, very strong looking candles, and looking for the shares to get up to 0.3 pence over the next week or so while they're above recent broken resistance at 0.22. What will be interesting over the next week is whether we start getting the 200-day line rising, which I think it already is. So we get a golden cross, and the run up to a golden cross tends to be the strongest part in the cycle. Ideally by the end of next month we've already tested that November peak around 0.36 pence. Finishing off with Wishbone, purely because I bumped into Richard Polden during the week in the street, and here you can see that we've got the shares hopefully at the bottom of the range, rising 50-day line as well at 0.15 above that. Looking for a retest of the May or last month's resistance at 0.26 by the end of next month or even sooner. RSI at 57 as well, which is in a good place for a potential turnaround. That's it for me today. More updates early in the week.